I want to talk to you about exactly what is happening in the Dallas-Fort Worth real estate market right now for not the headlines, not the fear, and not the hype, because I get asked all the time, D, what is going on in the market? Should I buy now? Should I sell now? These are questions that as a realtor we get constantly. And the honest answer is the market is not crashing, but it is also not what it was in 2021 and 2022. And I find it interesting that I'm still telling people that we are not in the market of 2021. 5 years later, I still have to caveat that, because for some reason that market was so crazy at that time and people just have not caught up to what's going on today. So oftentimes when I'm talking to people about what's going in the market, I still have to reframe it from that time frame. It's really interesting. It's something different. And if you understand what's actually happening in the numbers, you're going to see why right now might actually be one of the better windows we've had for buyers in a long time. So today I'm going to walk you through the real estate data, county by county. And if you want some more specific data on your city or your neighborhood, you can reach out to me directly. I would be happy to share that information with you. And I'm going to tell you exactly what I'm seeing as someone who works in this market every single day. We're going to cover Collin County, Tarrant, Dallas, Denton, and Rockwall County. So let's get into the numbers so you can know exactly what is going on in the market. And if you're new here, my name is Dee. Welcome. I am your local Dallas realtor, and I love helping homeowners buy, sell, and relocate in the DFW area. So let's start with the metro as a whole, because that kind of sets the context for everything. So across all of DFW, the average home price went from $477,000 in 2025 to $482,000 in 2026. Now, that's a 1.2% increase, essentially flat. Homes are not appreciating at the aggressive rate we saw a few years ago, but they're also not losing value either. The market is really stabilized. I remember I used to tell my clients that when they bought homes, they appreciate on average somewhere between 2 to 6% year over year. And as you can see, 1.2% is not quite 2%. So it's a little bit different. So we are seeing some stabilization in a lot of areas. So from a days on market perspective, which is a metric that we use quite a bit, meaning how long it takes a home to go under contract, held steady at 58 days both years. And keep in mind, I'm actually using the numbers from May 2025 and May 2026. Homes are not flying off the shelves in 48 hours the way they were in 2022, but they're also not sitting forever either. 58 days is pretty healthy and a normal pace. So I also have to tell a lot of times when I see a home sitting on the market for 45, 30 days, telling my clients that's pretty normal, right? So it's very different than what we experienced before. From a month supply perspective, month supply actually slightly dropped. Last May, we were at 5.5 months of inventory. Right now, we are at 4.9 months of inventory. 6 months of supply is actually considered a balanced market. We're below that, which means you're still technically in a seller's market territory, but just barely. That it's pretty much balanced here. We're still really getting some really great deals for our buyers. Sellers right now are getting roughly about 95.3% of their original list price, up slightly from 95% last year. That means that on a $500,000 home, buyers are averaging and negotiating about $23,000 off. And that negotiation room did not exist in 2021. From a listings perspective, listings are down from 2,099 listings across all of DFW down to 18,000. And so that is a 7% drop in new sellers coming to the market. This is one of the most important numbers in the entire data set, and I'll explain why in a few minutes. So stick around. So bottom line, DFW is not crashing, it's stabilizing. And that is actually good news for buyers who are paying attention. So let's talk a little bit about it from a county by county perspective, because this story is a little bit different depending on where you are in DFW and where you're looking to buy or sell. So let's talk about Collin County, which includes cities like Frisco, Plano, McKinney, Allen, Little M, Prosper. Collin County is where I spend a lot of my time, and this is the market that surprises people the most right now. The average price in Collin County actually came down from $576,000 last year to about $560,000 this year. That is a 2.8% decrease. And before anyone panics, this is a correction, not a crash. Collin County ran very hot for several years, and it's always going to find a ceiling before stabilizing, and nearly $17,000 price adjustment on a $576,000 home is a market recalibrating and not necessarily collapsing. In Collin County, again, the average price point was $576 last year. It is $560 in 2026. Days on market last year was about 51 days. Now we're at 53 days. And month supply in Collin County last year was 4.9 months. And now we're currently at 4.5 months. Also, percentage of the listing prices tells us what percentage that seller got of their listing price. Last year was 95%, and this year it was also 95%. In Collin County, we also saw listings go down slightly. We were at 3,000 in May of 2025, and for May of 2026, we were at 2,900. Here's what matters for buyers. The price came down, but months of supply also came down from 4.9 to 4.5. Fewer homes in the market, prices adjusting slightly downward. So if you're looking at Collin County, prices pulled back slightly. This is a rare opportunity to get into Collin County if you're still interested. Now, I want to talk a little bit about on the other side, our Fort Worth area, Tarrant County, which includes Fort Worth, Arlington, Mansfield. The Fort Worth side of the Metroplex is telling a different story, and it's one that I want buyers to really pay attention to if you're looking in that area. This is the tightest market in all of DFW right now. The average price essentially is flat, $355,000 on average last year, $353,000 this year, barely moved. But look at the supply. Months of supply dropped from 4.1 to 3.5. That is the lowest months of supply in any county we're covering today. And sellers there are getting 96.6 of their actual asking price, the highest of any of the counties as well. So homes in Tarrant County are moving, and they're moving closer to full price. Tarrant County is also the most accessible price-wise. $353,000 average is significantly lower than Collin or even Dallas County. So if you are a first-time home buyer or coming in from a more moderate market, the Fort Worth side of the Metroplex is giving you the most activity and the most competition, and is still pretty affordable. So let's talk about Dallas County. This, of course, includes the city of Dallas, Garland, Irving, as well as cities like Grand Prairie. Dallas County surprised me a bit with this data in the best way. It's something I want to highlight because it goes against the narrative that you might be hearing. Dallas County has the strongest price appreciation of any county. We're looking at an average price point that went from $592,000 last year to $602,000 this year. That is a 3.3% increase in a market where most counties are actually flat. Dallas County actually grew a little bit, and it did it with days on market essentially flat from 45 days in May of 2025 to 46 days in May of 2026, and month supply actually decreasing from 5 months to 4.7. Now, Dallas County has the highest average price of any county on the list. Part of that is driven by higher end properties in areas like Preston Hollow, University Park, and parts of East Dallas that are gentrifying. But the growth is real. If you own in Dallas County right now, you may have a really decent equity position. So let's talk a little bit about Denton County, which includes areas like Flower Mound, Louisville, Denton, of course, and Argyle, as well as parts of like Little Elm sits in Denton too. So Denton County is where I live, so I watch this market closely, and there's a little bit of nuance we're talking about here. The average price point went up slightly, $561,000 last May to $569. It's about a 1.4% growth. Again, not that like 2 to 6% that realtors have been quoting forever, but the days on market increased from 50 to 54 days. That means that homes in Denton County are taking just a little bit longer to sell than where we were last year. For buyers, that's actually useful. It means you have a little bit more breathing room to think through your due diligence and through negotiations with your sellers. So in this county, prices went up a little bit, but so did days on market. That combination tells me that sellers in Denton County may still be pricing from 2022 mindset. Happens all the time, more often than you would think. If you are buying in Flower Mound, Argyle, or even Bartonville specifically, you have more negotiating leverage than the average sale price actually suggests. So work with your realtor, me, to find out the sellers who have been sitting and now are a little bit more motivated. So let's talk about Rockwall County. Rockwall, of course, is on the side. I used to live in Rowlett for many years, so I still watch this market to make sure I know what's going on, and still actually sell quite a bit over there as well. You have Rockwall, Rowlett, Royce City. Rockwall is the softest market in DFW right now. The average price dipped from $495,000 485,000 last May to 486,000 this May, which is a 1.8% decrease. And days on market jumped from 73 to 80, the longest of any of the other counties, and it got longer year over year. Months of supply did drop though slightly from 6.8 to 5.9, but it's still the highest supply of any other counties that we're covering today. And sellers are getting the lowest percentage of their asking price at 93.8%, meaning that buyers are negotiating about 6% off on average. So here's the full picture though. New listings in Rockwall dropped 21% from 452 last May to 357 this year. That is a dramatic pullback in sellers. Less supply coming to the market usually prevents further price drops. Rockwall may be soft right now, but it's not a free fall. If you want to buy in Rockwall, you have some real negotiating power, really more than anywhere else in the Metroplex right now. For sellers in Rockwall, the data is telling you something. If your home is priced based on the 2022 comparables, it's gonna sit. Prices, and this really doesn't just go for Rockwall sellers, this is any seller across the Metroplex, it's gonna sit. Price it for the market you're actually in today, 2026, not the one you wished for. 80 days on the market is a signal that you may not be priced quite right. So if you're thinking that you want to figure out this data and what it means specifically for you, especially if you're looking to sell or buy in the area, that is exactly what I help people with. You can use the QR code that is on your screen to book a call directly with me, and we'll talk about what makes sense for you, whether you're buying or selling in this current market. So here's the conversation I want to have with you, because the data tells a story that I don't think people are hearing. We are in a window right now that buyers really haven't had for several years, and let me explain why. First, prices are stable. They're not going crazy up. They're not going crazy down, which means that you're not buying at a peak, immediately watching your equity evaporate. And in most counties, prices are flat to just slightly up. And that's a foundation you can build on. In Collin County and Rockwall, prices actually came down, meaning that you can get in at a lower number than buyers paid last year. Second, you have some negotiating room. Across the DFW, sellers are accepting 95 to 96 cents on the dollar. So on a $500,000 home, that's roughly 20 to 25 in negotiating space, whether that is in the form of concessions, closing costs, or repairs. In 2021 and 2022, buyers were waiving inspections left and right, paying over asking price, and that is just not the market that we're in. In this market, you can ask for repairs, you can negotiate on price, and you can take a break before making a decision to make sure it is the right fit for you. And if this is one that most people miss, new listings are falling just a little bit across every single county we looked at today. And I was actually surprised by this number, because a lot of what we're being told, even at my brokerage levels, that we're on a high for listings, which is true. We have a lot more listings than we have before. In the years 2021 and 2022, the months of supplies that we had was always under 3 months. So we still do have quite a bit more listings than what we're used to, but the number of new sellers coming to the market is down. DFW wide, we've dropped from about 20,000 new listings last May to 18,000 this May. That's about 1,300 fewer homes coming to the market. When supply contracts and prices are already stable, that is usually a precursor to things tightening up a bit. The other thing I want to talk about is mortgage rates, the elephant in the room. Nobody knows exactly when rates will come down, but the general expectation in the market is that we will see lower rates at some point in the next 12 to 18 months. Don't hold your breath on that. When that happens, buyer demand will surge and prices will follow. So buyers who buy now are at a stable market, and then they can refinance if they choose to, should rates drop. I get asked all the time if I think that rates are going to drop. And I wish I had a crystal ball, but I don't. It's almost, unless you're an economics person who is looking at the finances, the market bond rate, and what the Treasury is doing on a daily basis, and even they can't properly predict interest rates, I have no idea. So what I tell my clients all the time is just buy at the market at that time, sell at the market at that time. And if it's not right for you at that market, then don't buy or sell, right? So it really has to make sense for you and your family. Now, I want to be clear. I'm not telling you to rush into a bad decision. I'm not telling you to buy now, sell now. I'm telling you that if you've been waiting for the market to crash, the data just doesn't support that story. What it does support is a little bit of a stabilization to the market. You do have some negotiating power if you're in the market, and you have a narrowing window before rates and demand shift should that actually happen. So here's my honest take. Here's where I land on all of this as someone who works in DFW every day. If you're a buyer, especially a relocator or a move-up buyer, the data right now is more in your favor than it's been in a while, or the pandemic especially. You are not fighting 30 offers. You're not waiving your inspection. You have time to think and a little bit of room to negotiate, so use it. If you're a buyer specifically looking in Collin County, Frisco, Plano, McKinney, or Allen, the slight price pullback is meaningful. These cities are not going to get cheaper long-term. The Stars Arena, the corporate relocation, the job growth, the fundamentals still point north. So get in now if it makes sense for you, while prices kind of have stabilized a little bit. Also, if you're in Tarrant County and thinking about Fort Worth, this market is moving. Lower price point, tighter supply, highest list to sales percentage. So if you're waiting for a better deal in Fort Worth side, the data suggests that you might be waiting in the wrong direction. And if you are a seller anywhere in DFW, I'll be honest with you, the days of listing at whatever price you want and watching the offers just roll in is actually behind us. Pricing correctly is key from day one, and it matters than it ever have before. A home that sits 80 days and takes price reductions will net you less than a home that's priced right from the beginning and sells in 45 days. So your realtor should be showing you the current comps and not comps of 2022. It's so important that you go to the market with a strategy and you don't waste your time, because having a home on the market for sale and it's not moving can be a very frustrating experience depending on your situation. So that's the honest state of the Dallas-Fort Worth real estate market in 2026, May specifically. Not crashing, not booming, but stabilizing. And for buyers who are paying attention, that stability is some really good opportunity. And if you want to talk through what that means for you and your move, whether you're buying or selling, you can utilize the QR code that is on your screen to book a call directly with me so we can talk about what makes sense for you and your family. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video.